And now Kathleen Norton-Schock is grabbing the podium quite literally. And so she's going to run with the ball in this segment. We'd like to have her interview some of her folks. And so Matt and I will just sort of sit back and assist where needed. Go ahead.
And you're always needed as far as I'm concerned. So hi, guys. Thank you so much. Unlike my normal segments with you where I talk about women in tech, I have a little bit of a segue today. I'm really honored to have Jeff Hauser, who is Senior Vice President of Sales and Marketing for Right Management Great Lakes, with us today. And the reason is there's an emergency happening in the corporate world, and Jeff has some solutions for it. So as you probably both know, because you're even more attuned to our region than I am, Right Management Great Lakes is headquartered right here in Southfield, Michigan, and they have satellite offices in Grand Rapids and skilled workforce experts who work throughout our state. They have been a regional leader for over 40 years in what I would term workforce evolution, the ability of all of us to be more productive, more efficient, work better together. And so using their deep bench of coaches, strategists, workforce experts, they work with clients here of all sizes to improve efficiency and productivity. That means they've been a significant force for 4 decades, right? Helping companies stay abreast of the needs of all of the rest of us who work for companies and organizations. They take a look at talented employees, leadership, and they do a lot of their work primarily through workforce strategy planning with all sizes of corporations, leadership coaching, skills training for leaders and staffs, and outplacement services, helping people achieve their next levels of their occupation or their next missions. And some of the ways they do that is through personal strengths analysis, upskilling, research, assistance with finding new opportunities. And they've just done yeoman's work. I have a bunch of success stories. I've only met Jeff. Jeff and I are both alumni of Unisys, but I only seriously met him about 4 or 5 months ago. And some of the success stories he shared with me are amazing, because they really do mirror the history of our region, all the way through some of the worst and the best. Today, however, we're going to talk to Jeff about something different, one of their newest initiatives. It's a training program aimed at the manufacturing base, and it's called Power Lead. So welcome, Jeff. Thank you for joining us. He's down in the corner on my screen. Hi, Jeff.
Hi, Kathleen. Thanks for having me. And thank you, Mike and Matt and the MITech News team for the opportunity to share today with your audience about something we're incredibly passionate about. So thank you.
Yeah. So you guys, again, you're so in tune with what's going on in our corporations, and worldwide and nationwide. The press has been calling it the big quit, right? The dramatic and unprecedented level of people who are simply not returning to work or who are leaving their employers. So Jeff and his entire team are experts in this. So I have a question for you, Jeff. Is it true, specifically in manufacturing, that over 42% of manufacturing employees have either resigned their positions or, according to surveys, are considering resigning their positions? And if that's true, what is Right doing about this? Because it's a challenge, I know, for probably most of your companies and most of your clients.
Yeah. So Kathleen, I have some scary news and some scarier news. And that is that, unfortunately, that statistic you just mentioned in the low 40s, not only is that true, but that's likely a best case scenario for us. We're part of the Manpower Group, so we do a lot of primary research. And our findings indicate that anywhere from at least 40 to 60% of employees at all levels are currently actively considering new opportunities. And what's worse is that for those that aren't considering leaving, upwards of 65% of those would still call themselves free agents. And so even if they're not looking, they're at least interested. And so for us, for our manufacturing partners, in terms of our focus, we really emphasize a return to the basics. Don't overthink it. Don't over-engineer it, as we're often tempted to do, but instead focus on what has been conspicuously absent throughout the pandemic in our workplace experience. And that, simply put, is the human connection. We know from our work that loyalty or retention is created by a feeling of appreciation. It's not surprising, right? Real belief in an organizational mission or the purpose of the business, and a regular, meaningful demonstration of understanding and empathy from the people leaders in the business who serve and support the folks in the front line. And so, it's really not magic. Good people want to work for good leaders. And so Power Lead was introduced several weeks ago specifically to address these things for manufacturers navigating this crazy labor market here in Michigan, domestically or abroad. How do we get back to the basics and connect with people?
So how does Power Lead do that? I mean, it's a tall order you're talking about. How does Power Lead how does it address those factors that you mentioned?
Yeah, I think we talk a lot about reskilling and upskilling. And so for us, we address those factors I mentioned by complementing what's already there, frontline leaders' technical skills. The reality is what often led these folks to carrying the leadership title or having these accountabilities in the first place is that they're pretty darn skilled. And so what we do is we focus on complementing that with practical coaching on how to improve the way they engage with people. As I mentioned before, the data are clear. Frankly, it's incontrovertible. Frontline and professional employees of all types, are leaving in record numbers because they feel isolated from their leaders. They don't understand their personal ability to impact the business, and they're unable to envision a future at the organization. So all the things that experienced leaders effectively address are not being addressed right now. So while at first glance, these leaders that we talked about just a moment ago generally have deep technical experience or expertise and familiarity with things like agile manufacturing or kind of the core subject of what they do day to day, most of the people we expect to lead people and to build teams that are loyal and high functioning, they've had very little to no experience in prior leadership training. So we have been building people leadership skills, as you mentioned, for over the last 40 years. And we've learned a lot. We've got the skin knees and the battle scars to prove it. It hasn't all been home run hits, right? You learn from your strikeouts as well. And so to build Power Lead, we focused on the areas that we've seen the largest return on training investment: professional communication, building teams that trust, conflict management, leading change. These are just a few of the things that we know, regardless of where you're at in the business or frankly, what industry you're in, you have to be effective at these if you want to build powerful teams. So for us, we doubled down on this training content and focused on content that wasn't limited to a classroom. If your training starts and ends or lives in the classroom, it will never have an impact on the front lines. And so we focused on classroom experiences and learning reinforcement that's practical, that's repeatable, and that has proven to demonstrate results. And for us, that's what this is all about. How do we speak in the language of the people we're trying to serve? And how do we produce results that not only impact people, but also impact the bottom line?
Okay, so that it seems to me from what you just said that is what differentiates Power Lead from other training programs. There's a plethora of training out there, but what you just pulled together seems almost a Renaissancean concept. Am I correct, or am I being a little highfalutin?
Oh, I love it. As a fellow marketing person, I love the use of that term, so I'm all about it. But yeah, in some sense, I think that in an environment of increasing complexity, the things that are simple seem new again. And so you're absolutely right. There are more leadership training options on the market today than ever before. For us, what differentiates Power Lead, as I said, is that relentless focus on emphasizing the tried and true, but almost always overlooked. In other words, we didn't design this solution for all levels of leader and then try to figure out how to customize it or configure it for manufacturers to fit a marketing niche. We designed Power Lead for manufacturers we've supported for over the last 4 decades. And so if you want a training that leverages the language of manufacturers, we've got it. If your scheduling, like many of our clients, has gone from difficult to an absolute daily disaster, and you're in the need of atypical or non-standard delivery models, we've got that too. As experts, for us, and our privilege in working with some of the world's largest manufacturers and some of the local, our local neighborhood's smallest manufacturers, What we really focus on is making sure that our students, their leaders, let's not forget the executives in the C-suite, that they're all invested in tracking and tackling these issues, not just in the classroom, but outside of the classroom as well. And as a result, what we've developed is something that's not a cookie cutter approach, something that we've researched, iterated on, measured and challenged ourselves to believe in the outcomes. And we've built a practical training platform, frankly, that helps address the things that are important. It's easier to attract talent when you have a story to tell. It's easier to retain people when they work for great leaders. And it's easy to optimize performance when you've got a team that's working together, not rowing the boat in different directions. And so I think that's what really differentiates us. It's not a whiz-bang feature or a piece of technology that you've never heard before, because the reality is people are transformed by clear connections with other people. And that's what we're focused on.
Well, we've got about 2 minutes. I'm going to go to the practical question. If I'm Apex Widgets, in Livonia,
yes,
or I'm Bosch, what is my investment in this? What is the return on investment? What does it cost me to undertake some kind of an engagement with Right and the Power Lead program?
Yeah, it's a great question, Kathleen. We work with manufacturers of all sizes, and as a result, we work with budgets of all sizes. So we start with an ROI model first. We are not a solution in search of a return. And so we help control cost while measuring key results. So I'll tell you is there's not a standard cookie cutter approach to price, but what I can tell you is that we've worked with organizations with 3 leaders in the front line, and we've worked with organizations with 3,000 leaders in the front line, and we've got the ability to meet budget where it's at.
Got it. So if Ford or GM want this, you can do it for them. Got it?
We'd love to. They've been great partners of ours.
Okay, so if I'm a plant manager, a CEO, a CFO, if I'm the founder, if I'm Jason Raznick and instead of doing what he's doing, I founded a manufacturing firm, right? How would I find out more about Power Lead? How would I contact you or contact Right Management?
Absolutely. So you can learn more about Power Lead and Right Management over the phone or on the web. Right Management's website is www.rightgreatlakes.com. Our Power Lead site is www.rightgreatlakes.com/Power Lead. If you'd like to connect by phone, we can be reached at 248-948-1600 or toll free at 1-800-249-0295. I can be reached at jeff.hauser, Hauser, @right.com. And if you reach out to me directly, myself or someone on my team will get back to you within 24 hours. And we'd love, probably unsurprising to this group, as a sales guy, I could talk about this until tomorrow morning. So happy to talk about this and have these conversations as often and as in-depth as possible.